And welcome on in, everybody. Another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast on the 24/7 Sports Network. My name is Nathan King, and we have a very special guest here today, somebody I've been looking forward to bringing on the show for quite some time. Drew Morris. If you're big into gaming, you might know him on YouTube. Maybe you're one of his 700,000 plus subscribers. Not the expert on YouTube. And Drew, thank you so much for coming today. You got the Auburn setup on, and so that might be a little bit of a tease of what we're talking about today. But if you guys don't know Drew, he is one of the foremost YouTubers on the college football gaming front and just all kinds of, obviously, football gaming. And so this is an excellent time for you. Obviously, this is going to be a really big release. Obviously, we're going to be talking about, if you haven't thought of it already, College Football 25, which comes out next month. And Drew was able to sort of test drive the Auburn Tigers earlier this summer. So Drew, thanks so much for joining us today. And I can imagine the last few months for you have been pretty exciting with this game set to come out.
Thank you for that introduction, Nathan. Yeah, I mean, I've been looking forward to this game for a decade, just like everybody else. Thankfully, my career became this to where I can go to EA and give like feedback on the games. And I mean, college football has been my favorite thing forever growing up in Alabama. So it's like, this is a dream come true. And I'm just trying to not mess up at this point, just keep it going.
So you're from Alabama. Give us a little bit of background. Are you an Auburn fan, or where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Huntsville, Madison specifically, but went to Auburn University. I didn't graduate. I was in my senior year, not season. I didn't play any sports, but I dropped out for this YouTube thing. It picked up my junior year, and it's been fun.
So you're from Madison. I went to Buckhorn High School.
Oh, cool. I was at Bob Jones and then James Clemens when it like split off into two.
There you go. Yeah, I always just tell everyone I'm from Huntsville, because when you say Newmarket, nobody really knows what that is unless you're from that area. So we go with Huntsville. But so I guess you talked about maybe giving some feedback to EA. Sort of give us the background on what that experience was like and how that sort of came about. Where did you go, and what were sort of the things you were able to do while you were with them?
So I went down to Orlando a couple months ago, and they just gave us a presentation of what is going to be in College Football 25 as well as Madden 25. But I really care about college football mainly. But the presentation, and then they let us play test the game for about 4 hours. And we were not allowed to do any dynasty mode or road to glory. So it was all just play now. Unfortunately, my headset was not working, so I couldn't hear the amazing sights and sounds that are in this game, but the visuals alone for especially Auburn was like awesome. And I'll be able to talk more about that in detail if you have any specific questions, but yeah, that's the basics of what happened.
I guess, from when we'll get into, because I kind of wanted this to be, for anyone who's looking forward to getting the game this summer, or you're an Auburn fan, what does it look like to play as Auburn? But let's talk a little bit just from like a mechanics standpoint, because I think there was a lot of concern. It's like, oh, it's just reskin Madden, which I don't think at this point, people have been waiting 10 years. I don't think people would have been that upset if it's just reskin Madden. But we've known the game, previously to be different than the iterations of Madden. What was, a couple things maybe that stood out to you on the gameplay? And like you said, you were able to kind of give feedback. What was your feedback, if you're able to share that?
Oh, I've been given like direct feedback for like what they should include, like game modes, for like a couple of years now, actually. But for what I've been able to visually see now has only been this past year. But as far as how the games feel, I would describe it as like college football is just way more loose and open. It's fast. Madden feels kind of like clunky. Like you get stuck on, like if you're running the ball, you kind of get stuck on your offensive lineman a lot. I find it'll be a little bit annoying, that kind of gameplay experience. The corners seem to be like superhuman, and they'll be looking the opposite way and still be able to intercept the ball. But College Football 25, there's like more spacing, and you'll notice like when a player is very, very good, like Jarquez Hunter, we ran for like 200 yards in the game I played. He has so many like unique abilities specifically to him. And he just like, it was fun. I don't know. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. But there's also like, when you're throwing the ball trajectory is awesome, to where like I threw it to my tight end in between the safety and the linebacker, and I was able to like feather it right in between them. It was like very high arcing, drop in the bucket, just beautiful things like that.
Well, it's good to know that you have a deep knowledge of this team as an Auburn fan. When you were playing as this because
Mhm.
obviously for people who don't know, I mean it's going to be this updated roster. Obviously, it is this 2024 team. You mentioned Jarquez Hunter. Who were some of the other players? Obviously, we know who's going to be. We know who's going to
Yeah.
be rated well. I am interested to see what the exact ratings are going to be. But who are some other guys maybe that stood out to you on both sides of the ball that if Auburn fans pick up the sticks this year, it's like okay, these might be some fun guys to play with.
Well, the rosters were not 100% complete when I was there, but
Okay.
Jarquez Hunter obviously jumped off the page. Cam Coleman was awesome in the game. I mean, I was a bad quarterback because I can't make reads, but just throwing it deep balls to him was money. The defensive line all around was elite. I was talking to the lead gameplay dev, and he was telling me they sourced Nick Fairley footage to try and make the defensive tackles more or like have more of an impact instead of just like only sacks, if that makes sense. So like pushing offensive linemen back towards the quarterback and disrupting the pocket. They've done a lot of work there. But as far as individual names, I can't. There's some that were just like generic names when I was playing. Like the quarterback was a no name, so I don't know if that was an opt out or if they just weren't done with the roster yet.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't necessarily known that much about players being in the game. Obviously, there was
Mhm.
the couple months ago, I'm in the game. Everyone was sort of sharing.
Yeah.
What do you know about that? Like, it's obviously not a blanket situation where
Mhm.
everyone's going to be in the game, is it? Like, some of these rosters are going to be missing players, or what's sort of your understanding
Yep.
of that?
So there's about, I think they said 14,000 players have opted in now. So that's a good chunk of the players in the country. Um, but there's certain players like Arch Manning is notable, will not be in the game. He opted out. So you will not be able to like create Arch Manning for like that's a legal issue. But unfortunately, you won't be able to edit like currently opted in players, like their attributes. You cannot touch them. You might be able to touch their equipment and stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of limited player editing, which I was kind of bummed about. But this is what it takes for this game to exist now, so I'll accept that sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Like that's different. That's different than what we're
Mhm.
used to in the past when obviously it was up to I can't even remember all the gamer tags of everybody
Yep.
that you had to sit there and shout out to those people who put
I
in the work
remember
over the years to
Vikes
get the
fan like 181 or something. He was the goat at doing
I
that.
had one I had one on my 360 LSU fan something and it was
Yeah.
like the 2013 rosters. And obviously everybody who's played college football revamped.
Mhm.
I mean that's an unbelievable job by that team. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I didn't know that about Arch Manning. And the attributes. Some people may have their gripes about who gets what when the game comes out, and so we'll kind of be stuck with them. So that'll be interesting as well. Talking about, I think something that people are maybe a little bit more interested in is what it sort of looks like if you're picking up and playing as Auburn in Jordan Hare Stadium. You've mentioned on
Mhm.
Twitter a bunch of times that things that really impressed you, because Auburn I think got the short end of the stick in a lot of ways in the previous games because of some legal stuff.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even have their fight song like in the previous game. What was it like for somebody like you who knows Jordan Hare so well and knows what the Auburn atmosphere should look like? What were sort
Mhm.
of some of your takeaways from playing in that stadium?
Well, this game specifically, like we've had the Eagle flight before, but it looked really good in this game. And then seeing like the video board for the first time, and because it wasn't there in
Yeah,
2014 yet.
that's true.
There's actually the student section. They actually painted every section in the game to where so like the students are where they're supposed to be right below the video board, and there's like little cutaways in between, like with their chest painted, and like if you like miss a field goal to win the game, they'll do surrender cobra and stuff like that. Um, when they come out of the tunnel, the band is all lined up like they should be. There's not like the throwing the stick into the ground kind of thing. Nothing like that. But there's a team run out. There's like smoke going in the air. It's really cool. And the
Yeah,
atmosphere is just awesome.
the band element. Yeah, that's one thing I was going to ask. Is because I think a lot of people get
Mhm.
the Auburn's marching band obviously is such a big part of that atmosphere. I mean, just having the fight song makes such a difference because
Yeah.
they had to hear Tiger Rag in the old games, which
Yeah.
is good. It's a song that Auburn's band plays, but it's also Clemson's. It's also no, or
Mhm.
was it Glory? I think it might have been Tiger Rag. Either way, it was the same as Clemson. It was the same as LSU. It was just reused. And so that'll be really really interesting. What are some things that I guess, beyond Auburn, and you're sort of obviously going to have a massive viewpoint of this game, and a lot of things that you're going to be trying to do on your channel. What are you sort of most excited about from an overarching standpoint to dive into?
Hmm.
Things that you may not know about yet from playtesting that you're excited to see.
Well, it's those modes that you can pour hours into. Road to Glory and Dynasty, of course. That's my favorite gameplay experience in game. But they gave attention to detail to every college in this game. So like the Auburn traditions are there, but so is like Arkansas State's, which they have like a waterfall in their stadium, which I had no idea. But like every little thing like that, it just adds to the immersion to me. The sounds sound really good. Um, I forgot to mention this. They sourced like ESPN games and they even recorded live at games, which Auburn was one of those. But they
Oh wow.
noticed specifically they got LSU versus Bama in 2022. So like the audio quality is the best we've ever seen in a football game. And I don't think that's hyperbolic in any sense. But they got 80,000 photos for some stadiums to get it like as perfect as you can get. They got architecture plans for stadiums. So like Vanderbilt won't have construction flapping in the wind when they're playing. It's got the designs of what it will look like when it's finished kind of
Oh
thing.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They went as hard on the details as they could. I did hear they don't have all of the mascots in game. They only have like 50 or so. But I mean, when you have so many traditions for everything, it's okay to miss some spots, I guess.
Did Obby did make the cut, correct?
Of course, yeah. Well, that's because Obby's the GOAT. I mean, you
Got
can't.
it. Yeah. I mean, it'd be a rough look if they didn't have the
Mhm.
if they didn't have the national champion. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they like have completed stadium renderings. That's really
Yeah.
really interesting. I mean, that's probably going to be some of the best way that people can like see what
Mhm.
it will actually look like. Like a
You also get
Vanderbilt
to
player.
play the college football playoff for the first time, like the 12
Yeah,
team
that's
in
true.
game before it happens in real life. So that'll be a little weird, but kind of
Yeah.
cool.
So you're saying so I guess maybe this past season they had like EA go out to games and physically be in the stadium and record?
Yeah, they've been starting development like probably like 4 years is when the talks started. So they were gathering information, they were contacting schools, getting fight songs and things like I don't know if they got the swag surfing game, but they have Mo Bamba at Penn State, which is cool. Things like that. I think they got Neck from I think LSU does that, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's gonna be great.
yeah, little things like that. War Eagle Hay is in there, like chat or chants like that. Um, I'm kind of blanking on some things, but yeah, there's just so many things.
Yeah, I'd seen some people say they had like the first down, the Auburn first down band
Hmm.
cheer, and like it's little things like that that I mean you might not even if you go to an Auburn game all the time like you sort of take it for
Hmm.
granted, um, but then you pick it up and we've never had anything as immersive as that.
No, it's real. That's why I was like blown away
Yeah,
because it's been over a decade since we've seen this. So it's the technology that you can use now. It definitely ups it up a level.
yeah, that's I mean that's gonna be. I can imagine you probably already have a decent plan in place for release day, but that is going to be that is going to be quite a
Mhm.
day of content. Yeah, they had the sights and sounds trailer today as we record this on Wednesday the
Mhm.
26th. Um, yeah, they had the sights and sounds trailer with like Kirk Herbstreit, and yeah, I mean it was the details in which they have for every single stadium for every single program. And so even if you're an Auburn fan, you've probably done what everybody else has done and started up a dynasty with some small
Mhm.
school and see how far you can take them. And obviously, in terms of FBS, every team is in the game, correct? From the
Yeah,
FBS level.
I
Gotcha.
think they want to get FCS like in future titles, but not in this one.
Yeah, yeah. That's sort of the last thing I was going to ask is about how much how much do you think we can sort of grow from here in this because it's we have a baseline with EA
Mhm.
obviously Madden has been around forever and there obviously were college football games but they were from a decade ago. I guess how much are you sort of excited to see this is honestly sort of a test run for them just to get back into this space with a college football game. How excited are you to sort of see what they can do to grow in the next few years once they put out this first version?
I'm very excited. You mentioned earlier you like the college football revamp mod. Well, they hired the a couple of guys from college football revamped, and their stamp is all over this game.
Wow.
And
Okay.
like those guys are locked in. They've elevated so much over there, even just like the general design of things. But they're really trying to hit all the details. Like it's impressive what they were able to accomplish in just like 2.5 years of hard development. I think people assume it was 11 years, but they couldn't do anything until like 2020-ish. But yeah, I'm super excited for the future. I'm always giving them feedback on some things. Like they know what they've missed too, so they have a lot of plans in the future.
Yeah, and if you guys want to go check it out, I'm not sure there will be anybody else bigger in the college football gaming space that's going to be playing as Auburn. I would imagine that's probably the first team you're going to pick up when the game comes out. So you guys can head over to Drew's YouTube, Not the Expert, and you'll find him right there. I'm really excited to see what kind of stuff you have in store. And I hope all our listeners enjoyed this brief little chat. If you guys are looking forward to picking up the game, so Drew, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. Obviously, I'm not going to be in my head as detailed, so sort of give us a quick shout out of your socials and your YouTube and anybody that or anything that you want our listeners to follow as you get set to probably put in a bunch of hours as the Auburn Tigers this summer.
Yeah, the main thing is just my YouTube, Not the Expert. A lot of college football, I even play some like retro games like Backyard Baseball, NFL Street, that kind of thing. But yeah, college football is the main focus. We'll do an Auburn rebuild, but I do like a lot of create a team and road to glory kind of stuff too, if you're curious about that.
Well, we were talking before we got rolling about, and our listeners don't hold me to this because we'll try to get it working, but we're not very tech savvy. Me and Christian have talked about the idea of, and Brandon Marcello at our site used to do this, live streaming every week, like a simulation where you just put the controller down and see what happens over 4 quarters. Obviously, that's going to be more accurate than ever with the rosters that we have now. And so I think people, that's sort of an interesting thing. Obviously, game week is super exciting, and people are kind of looking forward to whatever they can grab onto. And so maybe we'll have you back on for a bit of commentary for one of those big games this fall.
That'd be fun
when we go to simulate. So Drew, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, guys, Not the Expert YT on Twitter, and then Not the Expert. You can go subscribe to him on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. Go leave us a 5-star review if you guys enjoyed it. That's the number one thing that helps us. The bumper music, as always, Beats by Mordecai. Y'all can follow him on Twitter, SoundCloud, and Instagram. Till the next time, thank you to Drew again, and we will catch you guys later.
Thank you.